There are places in America that people avoid for reasons they can't fully explain. Places where strange things have happened for decades. Places tied to disappearances, unexplained sightings, and stories that were never officially documented. Most people assume those stories are exaggerations. I used to think the same thing. But over the past few years, I've collected accounts from people who claim they experienced something in these locations that they still can't explain. No proof, no answers, just memories that continue to haunt them. The story you're about to hear is one of those accounts. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. But if even half of it is true, then some places are dangerous for reasons. I didn't believe in places that swallow people. That's what my supervisor said before sending our team into the Bennington Triangle. Officially, it was just a routine forestry mapping assignment. Updating old terrain data, marking new hiking boundaries, checking erosion zones. Nothing unusual, nothing dangerous. At least that's what they told us. There were 5 of us when we entered the forest. We checked in by radio at 9:14 a.m. By 9:47 a.m., the trail behind us was gone. Not blocked, not overgrown, gone. I was the one who noticed first. The path we had just walked through had turned into solid wall-like brush, as if it had always been there. One of the guys laughed nervously and said we must have taken a wrong turn. But GPS confirmed something worse. We hadn't moved at all. We were still at the entry point, except we were deeper in the forest. That was the first impossible thing. By noon, the second started. We found footprints ahead of us, 5 sets, exactly matching ours. Same shoe sizes, same pacing, same direction. But they weren't ours, because they were fresh, and we were standing still when they appeared. We followed them because there was nothing else to do. That was the first mistake. The deeper we went, the quieter the forest became. Not silence, but something worse. Like the sound was being removed from the air itself. Even breathing felt muffled. Like the forest didn't want to hear us anymore. At 2:18 p.m., we lost Eric. He was walking behind me. 1 second there, next second just missing. No sound, no struggle, no echo, just absence. We turned back immediately, but the trail behind us was now different. Trees we had passed were gone. Rocks had shifted positions. Even sunlight was wrong, like it was coming from the wrong angle. That's when we realized something had changed the forest while we weren't looking. At 3:03 p.m., we found Eric again, or what looked like him. He was standing between 2 trees, facing away, perfectly still. I called his name. He didn't respond. When I stepped closer, he started walking away from us, slowly, calmly, without turning around. We followed him for nearly 20 minutes, until he led us to a clearing that wasn't on any map. In the center of it was a structure made of wood. But it wasn't built. It was grown. Like the forest had decided to form a shape and forgot what it was supposed to be. Inside that structure were 5 empty spaces, like seats, waiting. One of them already had something sitting in it. It looked like Eric again. But its face wasn't finished. It was still forming, like clay learning what a human should look like. We ran, or at least I think we ran, because the forest kept resetting around us. Every time we changed direction, we ended up back at the clearing, and each time we returned, another seat was filled. At some point, I realized something terrifying. The forest wasn't trapping us. It was arranging us. At 4:11 p.m., I was alone. I don't remember losing the others. I just remember turning around and realizing I was the only one left. The forest was completely silent now. No wind, no birds, just the sound of my own footsteps repeating slightly behind me, like something was learning how to walk by copying me. When I finally escaped, if I escaped, I was standing on the road outside the forest at sunset. My clothes were clean. My watch showed 9:14 a.m. again, the exact time we entered. But I know I didn't come out the same way, because sometimes when I look in the mirror, I can see footprints behind me, even when I'm standing still. I didn't go to Point Pleasant because I believed in anything supernatural. I went because of a work assignment, a short field survey near the riverbanks, environmental mapping, wildlife tracking, nothing unusual. The kind of job you forget about the moment it's done. At first, everything felt normal. Small town, quiet roads. Too quiet, actually. People there avoided looking at the sky. I noticed that immediately. When I asked one of the locals why, he just said, "Don't stay after dark." He didn't explain what that meant. The first night, I thought he was being dramatic. I stayed out late anyway. At 11:47 p.m., I saw something standing across the river. It was too far to make out clearly, but it was tall, wrongly tall. Not human proportions, not animal either, just a silhouette that felt like it was watching without eyes. When I pointed my flashlight at it, it didn't move. It just stayed there, like it expected to be seen. I told myself it was stress, reflections, distance distortion. But the second night proved me wrong, because it wasn't across the river anymore. It was on my street, at the far end, standing perfectly still under a broken streetlight. I didn't sleep. At 2:13 a.m., I checked again. It was closer, not walking, just closer, like distance didn't matter anymore. At 3:40 a.m., I recorded it. In the footage, there was nothing at first. Then, in a single frame, it appeared. Closer than before. Still not moving. Still watching. By the fourth night, I understood the pattern. It didn't approach while I was watching it directly, only when I stopped looking. So I stopped blinking. I didn't sleep. I didn't look away. But at 4:28 a.m., my phone died, and the streetlight outside my window flickered off at the exact same moment. When it came back on, it was right outside my house, standing just beyond the glass, close enough that I could finally see its face. Except it didn't have one. Not missing. Just unfinished. Like something trying to become human, but forgetting how halfway through. And then it did something I still can't explain. It raised its hand and pointed at me. Not threatening, not aggressive, recognizing. Like it had finally confirmed something it was searching for. Since that night, I've moved 3 times. But every new place eventually gets a knock at the door at exactly 4:28 a.m. I went to Centralia because I thought it was just an abandoned town with a fire problem. That's what everyone says. Coal seam fire, evacuation zone, unsafe ground. Simple explanation. But nothing about it was simple when I arrived. The first thing I noticed wasn't the smoke. It was the sound. A low, constant vibration under the asphalt, like the earth was breathing through teeth. The road cracked beneath my boots as I walked through the empty streets. And I mean empty in a way that feels wrong. Not abandoned, but deliberately cleared. Like everything had been removed, except what was necessary to watch. I started hearing tapping beneath the ground. At first, I thought it was thermal expansion, metal pipes shifting. Then I realized the pattern. It was responding to me. I stopped walking. The tapping stopped. I said, "Hello?" 3 taps came back immediately, not random, intentional. I left the street and moved toward what used to be residential blocks. The houses were gone, but their outlines remained in the grass, like burned memories. That's when I saw the first vent. Steam rising from a crack in the earth. But it wasn't just steam. There was something inside it, moving. I leaned closer, and I heard my own voice come out of it, whispering my name. Not distorted, not mechanical, perfectly clear. Like I was standing on the other side of the ground speaking back to myself. I stepped away immediately. That's when the second vent opened. Then the third. Each one releasing steam, and each one speaking in my voice. But not repeating what I said, answering me. Like it knew what I was thinking before I spoke. At 3:27 p.m., I recorded audio. In the recording, I never spoke. But the vents did. And they said something I still can't explain. "You are above us now." That's when I understood what beneath Centralia really meant. It wasn't just fire. Something had learned the shape of the town underground, and it was waiting for the surface to become like it. At sunset, I tried to leave, but the road I came in on was gone. Not collapsed, not blocked, just replaced with more ground, fresh, untouched earth, as if the town had never been connected to anything outside itself. I started walking anyway. Eventually, I found a single telephone pole still standing. The only one. The wires were humming. And when I pressed my ear against the wood, I heard ringing. Not a phone. A heartbeat. From inside the pole. And I got lost in the Pine Barrens on a routine drive. That's the simple version. The real version is that the road I was on stopped making sense halfway through. One moment I was driving between marked forest routes. The next, the road sign was gone. Then the road itself was gone. Just dirt, trees, and silence stretching farther than it should. I tried GPS. No signal. I tried turning back, but every direction looked identical. Same trees, same darkness, same unnatural stillness. At first I thought I was circling. Then I noticed something worse. My fuel gauge wasn't changing, like I wasn't actually moving anymore. At 9:18 p.m., I heard something outside my car. A voice. A child's voice. Calling for help. It came from the trees on my right. I stepped out. No footprints. No movement. Just the same forest stretching endlessly. Then the voice came again. Closer. This time from behind me. I turned. Nothing. But I heard breathing. Not mine. At 10:03 p.m., I followed the sound deeper into the forest. The trees started changing shape as I walked. Not physically, but in memory. Like I couldn't remember the same tree twice. Every direction felt newly created. That's when I realized I was being guided. Not towards something, but away from something else. At 10:47 p.m., I saw a light. A flashlight beam between the trees. I ran toward it. It vanished every time I got close, but the voice stayed. Still calling, still asking for help. At some point, I stopped running toward the light and started following the voice instead. I am an archivist, or I was before I found the Roanoke Journal. It was supposed to be a routine excavation report. Collapsing colonial records, coastal soil degradation, nothing unusual. But the box I opened wasn't cataloged. No label, no origin record. Just a sealed leather journal, completely dry despite being buried under wet foundation stones. The first pages were normal. Settlement notes, weather logs, supply shortages. Then the handwriting changed. Same ink, same book, different author. The entries started continuing after the colony's disappearance. That alone should have been impossible. But what made my hands shake was the date system. The journal kept writing past the year the colony was lost, not predicting events, recording them. Things like, "We no longer see the ships from the shore, but they still arrive in the water at night." And later, "Some of us remember dying, but only when we are alone." I thought it was forgery at first, until I noticed something worse. The journal began referencing me by my name. I have never been to Roanoke, at least I don't think I have. But the writing described my presence in the excavation site. It described what I was wearing before I opened the box. It described me opening it. Then it wrote, "You will continue us." That night, I tried to leave the archive. But every exit led back to the same room, different hallway, same door, same journal on the table, open, waiting. When I stopped trying to leave, the writing changed again. The last entry I saw wasn't in ink anymore. It was carved into the page itself, as if pressed from the inside. We did not vanish. We were only moved out of time. And beneath it, fresh ink appeared while I watched. "Now we are here with you." I closed the journal, but I can still hear it turning pages at night, even when it's locked in a sealed evidence vault, especially when I'm not near it.